a couple episodes ago, we talked about one of my previous product-based businesses that I closed. And one of my biggest learnings from that business was about the cost of shipping.
Mm-hmm.
It was so expensive. And I thought you had to offer free shipping. I was offering free shipping. And some of these things cost me $30, $40 to ship.
Yeah.
Do you have a brilliant product idea but don't know where to start to get it made? Or are you looking to level up your product but afraid to take it overseas?
If so, you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Jackie.
And I'm Erin, and we are
The Sourcing Gals,
your trusted guides to everything you need to know about sourcing, manufacturing, and scaling your product overseas. Whether you are just starting out or you've been making your own product for a while, we are here to help women source products overseas without the overwhelm.
In each episode, we'll share insider tips, actionable strategies, and inspiring stories to help you source more effectively, save time, and boost your profits. Duh! We know how hard it can be to juggle the ins and outs of product development, but don't worry, we've got your back.
So grab a cup of coffee, get comfy, and let's dive into how you can grow your business,
make more money,
and turn your products into profit. Welcome to
The Sourcing Gals. Now let's get started. High five.
Hi. Running a product-based business is complicated enough. Your banking shouldn't be. That's why we use Mercury. It's a free, intuitive banking platform built for entrepreneurs. No monthly fees, and get this, no wire fees ever. Plus, it integrates with QuickBooks, making bookkeeping a breeze. And the best part? Their credit card gives you 1.5% cash back with a holiday bonus of 2.5% cash back on ad spend. Terms do apply. Banking doesn't have to be complicated. Join me and thousands of other founders using Mercury. Learn more and sign up today using the link in the show notes. Welcome to this week's episode of
The Sourcing Gals.
We are going to talk about shipping today.
Yeah, it's holiday time. Black Friday is coming around the corner.
Yes. And you're likely ordering things around the clock. And it's a question that comes up when you are a product-based business and you start to look at your budget and your margin, and you think about how much it's going to cost you to ship your product to your customer. And should you pass that on to the customer or not?
Correct. And I think what makes it hard is that we live in an Amazon world. Everybody thinks, well, we just expect shipping to be free. And I want to challenge that thought, though. I really believe, yes, Prime has its purpose. And yes, it has convenience, and people are used to it that go on Amazon. But for those people that do not shop on Amazon or go to other websites, I do not believe that it is assumed that all shipping is free.
No.
I mean, you pay for a Prime subscription. So technically you are paying, in a sense, to have that luxury of having it shipped for free. And also, we all know Amazon is a mega behemoth, right? And I don't think the expectation for every product-based company is that you can absorb that freight on your end. And the reality is, most likely you can't.
Most likely you can't, and most likely you shouldn't. I know we both agree on this position. We are going to get to some of the reasons why and scenarios that would make sense to absorb the shipping, and then others where it won't. But we just wanted to start out by saying that I don't think, you don't think, we don't think that it's the expectation. I don't shop on Amazon anymore. So I have just gotten used to the fact that when I am going direct to these companies who I'm buying from, I'm going to pay shipping.
Yeah.
And it's okay because I want those companies to succeed.
Correct.
I want them to ship it to me quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And in a lot of cases, I'll pony up for faster shipping because I want it.
Yep.
I've started buying my books from like online thrift store and like half price books, and I pay for shipping. It's fine.
Yeah. I agree. And I think that at the end of the day, the margin is really what's going to help also dictate, whether you can and at what scale does the free shipping threshold tip. Because I do believe as an e-commerce business, there is definitely some incentive to offer free shipping at some point. That can be a trigger in multiple ways. One could be a special promotion. If your margin can afford it and you want to juice things a little bit more, okay, fine. You can offer a free ship for this weekend only. Again, assuming your margin can carry it. The other way within my own product-based business is there's a certain threshold to hit.
Right.
As long as they are getting to that $75, then I can absorb that margin hit because it can amortize over a much bigger order value than if I was only shipping one unit. Basically, it's a 2+ transaction for me on my website. As long as they're buying basically 2 items, it's going to kick them over that threshold. I am shipping very lightweight pajamas, but it still costs me as the business. I never have a shipping bill lower than $6.50. And for some parts of the country, I'm upwards of $10, $11, $12. Okay. And that is for a garment that doesn't even weigh 8 pounds. So it's just the reality that domestic shipping is expensive.
And that's what I was going to say, is that there is a kind of a minimum when you're shipping something. Think about if you're not shipping it with a stamp and an envelope, it's not a card, you're going to always start out at this minimum. So if you're using someone like a FedEx or a UPS, that minimum's like $13. Even if it's something that's like half a pound, barely.
Well, and I'll tell you,
it's going to be $13.
Well, how I circumvent that though is I do my shipping through Shopify.
Yes.
I'm using UPS and I actually get freight rates in the $6 realm, but it's because I'm using Shopify's freight account. Can you imagine how many businesses are you? So they are getting great freight rates. So I say that because look at your platform that you are using. It is probably most likely way more advantageous for you to use your third party's shipping, platform than trying to just do your own. Like if I were to set up my own business UPS account, which I looked into compared to the rates that Shopify was getting, and even my 3PL at that point, we even compared my third-party logistics, my distribution center's freight rates, and Shopify was still significantly cheaper just because they're pushing so much volume.
Correct. So I use stamps.com and it's the same, similar to Shopify. They kind of like bundle all their orders and they're able to get really low costs. Stamps.com, you can ship UPS also. It's not just USPS, but it's interesting because I used to have my own UPS account.
Yep.
And it was always $13, no matter how small it was, no matter how light it was. It was $13.10. Like I remember it so clearly, but then I can get that down to like 8 on stamps.com. So it's just great. But I guess the point being that you can consolidate these things. But when we talk about who should offer free shipping and who shouldn't, it has to work with your margins. Go on. Stamps.com is actually a great example of you can go on and just like test it out, see what it's going to cost you without having to sign up for Shopify or sign up for a UPS business account. But there are scenarios in which offering free shipping works and what doesn't. And I think that I want to take this opportunity to remind you guys, a couple episodes ago, we talked about one of my previous product-based businesses that I closed. And one of my biggest learnings from that business was about the cost of shipping.
Mm-hmm.
It was so expensive. And I thought you had to offer free shipping. I was offering free shipping. And some of these things cost me $30, $40 to ship.
Yeah. Again, I don't think you have to assume the customer expects it. I will say that within the shipping, any of your platforms, whatever your e-commerce platform is, you can choose how much more to charge the customer, right? So
Right.
I have like a flexible amount. I have a flat rate actually over a certain amount. And then otherwise, if it's less than 75, I'm not highly marking up the freight. I do have a shipping and handling fee. So think about if you have a 3PL, a third-party logistics company, a distribution center, or even yourself, you should get paid to pick and pack your order. Because if you're not doing it, when you outgrow your own ability to do it yourself, you're going to have to pay somebody else to do it. So make sure you're putting that in with your freight or accounting for that in your margin. And then the actual freight, you can choose to be a pass-through or take a little margin on it. So I try to keep my freight as a fairly low pass-through to my customers because they are paying out of pocket for it, right? If they're not hitting that threshold of free ship for me, and also cover my pick pack fee. So that's
Right.
how I've chosen to approach it, where again, I'm not trying to take advantage of the fact that they have to pay for shipping, but I need them to cover shipping. My margin cannot absorb a potentially $8 or $10 shipment when I'm only retailing it at $50.
Correct. So in my example, for my brand, it's jewelry. It's a little bit more expensive and it's very lightweight. I can get away with putting that into my margin because I'm selling a $300 thing that costs $4.50 to ship. That's fine.
Totally.
I can give that to the customer.
Totally.
But the lower you go, and that's kind of why I brought up that like minimum earlier, is that the lower you go on how much someone's going to spend on an order, the more problematic that gets, because just because the cost of your product's low doesn't mean the shipping cost is going to be low.
Exactly. Exactly. And so I think if you're, working your margins and understanding how much does it affect your bottom line, right? If you have your costs and you have, again, you make sure you're not forgetting your packaging. What is the packaging materials to ship that to the customer also, right? It's not just your product cost. It's the box that it has to go in, or the poly bag. We use compostable poly bags. They're not free, so you got to think of all those different facets that go into the shipping part. I said the handling and then the freight. And again, you can amortize and see, okay, what type of order threshold, what dollar amount makes that cost feel a little less? Mm-hmm. And is that maybe where you entice the customer to add another item to the cart, find, something that's going to increase those units per transaction to make it feel incentivizing? Because I will say, I definitely play the game of trying to get free ship, right? And so, which is fine. Like, retailers want you to do that. So it's like, oh, add one more thing to your cart and you have free ship. And a lot of times I will fall for it and I will do it. And then net, I'm like, well, I probably end up spending more anyways, right? But
it's like when you get 12 bottles of wine to get the 10% discount, you're like, well, that didn't make sense.
Exactly. That's a great analogy. So my point is, you can also play those retail games. Like, that is okay. That is okay to set those thresholds to be where someone's going to have to buy more than one unit or more than 2 units of something on your website. So it really comes down to the math, but we want to debunk the fact that everyone expects free shipping. We really don't believe that is the case. And you can also do some market research yourself, right? When you go to Etsy and you are working with smaller retailer, smaller shops, you are paying shipping on Etsy.
Right. Most e-commerce stores that are not Amazon, you will notice it actually does exist.
And you can look at those thresholds too, right? You can go and find people in your same industry. Where are they? Where does that line fall for that? Now, that doesn't mean that you have to follow that either, by the way, because you are a product-based founder who is maybe earlier on your journey. And if you're comparing yourself to someone who is way longer down the road, they might be able to afford a lot more of that to eat that cost, right? Just to get the customer to convert. So, but if you can do your research, you can go and pattern, and maybe it'll actually help support the fact that, I guess I really don't have to offer free shipping.
Right. So another thing you can also do is, if you start seeing a lot of abandoned carts because your shipping's high, then that might be an indicator that it's scaring people away.
Yeah.
And in that case, you can always take a middle ground too. You don't have to offer free shipping. Maybe offer flat rate $5 shipping, and it covers a big portion of it.
Correct.
And then people kind of, if it feels proportional to the product, let's say you're selling a $12 product and you're like $3 flat rate shipping. Okay. So maybe it'll cover half the shipping and it'll feel a lot, easier to swallow, because if you're only selling a $15, $12 product and the shipping's $8, someone might be like, oh crap, and then abandon ship.
I will say, I talked to a founder recently who's literally in the middle of this right now. They have a product that is just not that expensive. It's an $8 product and $9 product, but the freight, as you said, is $5. No way around it. It is a sizable enough product with weight that makes it be a minimum $5 to $6. And so from the customer journey, it's a little challenging because they're getting to checkout of a $9 product. And then all of a sudden it's basically doubling for freight.
Right.
So some creative things we've talked about is bundling it.
Yes.
Maybe you're not selling onesies. Maybe you have to sell a 3-pack. So then at least as a 3-pack, it feels less ick to charge $8.95 shipping, because they're getting 3 bottles, right? 3 things of this item. And so that's one option. The other option is they actually have big plans to make it to big box retail, which seems like a very valid path. And also you have to remember, if your product is on a Target.com, Target can choose to do free ship all day long. That's on them. That's not on you, right? So that's another way to kind of circumvent that as you start to get to big box, is that the freight then is owned by the retailer, not actually by you as the business owner. And then also for this brand, Amazon may actually be a good option for them.
Right.
They're just starting out. They're trying to get market viability. And so they're just starting to look into, okay, well, what does Amazon take of my margin in order for customers to get the free ship. And that's where I also went back to them and said, if Amazon takes more, which I assume they do for products, sub $20, I've heard, or sub $15, the margin take is greater because of the freight piece, right? Like the cost to freight ratio. Because on average, I would say for my product on Amazon, being full hands off, they do fulfillment, they give me the shipping labels to drop ship it right to their distribution center. They're taking anywhere from 25 to 30, mid 30% of my margin, which is better than wholesale, to be honest. So it's not a bad thing. So my point to this other product-based founder was do the math, see what the margin implications are for a sub $10, sub $12. Maybe you just increase your single unit retail price to help offset it for you, because they're still trying to get customers to test and try this new product.
So you're saying, I'm going to simplify this to make sure I understand. You're saying that if they sell a product that's like over 10, I don't know, this is just like for instance, for the people listening, like there's a threshold that if they're over a certain threshold, Amazon will cover shipping.
No, they will just take less of your margin.
They'll take less of it to ship it.
Yes, they'll take less, because basically when you decide to do a fulfill by Amazon, which means I literally drop ship my product right to Amazon. They pay for my shipping of my product to their DC. They pick, pack, fulfill. They manage my returns. I literally touch nothing. I just get paid out when they sell.
Right.
So that margin that they take of me to do all of that can range somewhere in the like 30-ish percentage points. I'm being told, again, I don't know this, but I'm being told that if your product is sub $20, that margin take might be 50, might be 60. Amazon creeps it up to help account for the fact that the freight's more expensive and they're not getting as many dollars.
If a product-based founder were to either bundle or price their item above that threshold, they could make a better margin.
Yeah. Or even if you're selling a product for $8.99 and let's say Amazon's going to take 50% of it. Okay. What about if you sold one product for $12.99 and they still take 50%, but you've just gained $3 more margin for yourself that way to offset the single unit. And then you give the customer a much better price at a 3-pack bundle.
Right. So, and it is higher than what they'd be able to buy it for locally maybe, but it's the price of convenience.
Yeah. And the fact that they're a new emerging brand, they're not anywhere locally right now.
Right.
So you can only get this from an in-person pop-up or on their website, where then you have to pay, again, upwards of $6, $7, $8 of freight for one bottle. So again, these are not to overcomplicate this, but there's just lots of ways to hack it is my point. And so, but at the end of the day, they couldn't offer free shipping. They would have no business,
right?
Like literally no product margin if they had offered free shipping, right? So they're navigating through that challenge. And they're also learning that for them, big box retail is where they're going to have to be, where their large distribution channel is, and they will make it there. They're already doing it. So, there's just some nuances as you're starting off versus where you're growing and where your distribution channel ends up being. And that's going to affect that as well.
Right. So it doesn't make sense to offer free ship if you have something that has a lower price point, but the other scenario is you have something that's sizable.
Correct.
Even if it's expensive, even if it's a higher ticket item, if it's large, those shipping rates go up so fast. Even if it's a pillow, I used to shrink wrap or like shrink pack my pillows when I shipped them to people so that I could do it in like an envelope, because that was the difference of $10 in shipping.
Correct.
So I think that what we're really trying to say is that there are only some very specific scenarios in which offering free shipping makes sense. And even when people are saying free shipping, I'm going to use air quotes. Even if you happen upon a website that offers free shipping, the chances that they're just putting it in their cost is like 100%, right?
Yes, for sure. They're not eating anything. You're paying for it. You just don't know you're paying for free shipping.
They're not doing it out of the goodness of their heart.
Correct.
They're like, bless her heart, we want to send her this for free.
Correct. And I'll say that also you have to think about shipping when you're talking about returns. Are you going to charge the customer to pay to return goods for you? So I know for us, we've worked through a couple of different options. If something happens where a customer receives an order and it's incorrect, if there's something wrong with the product, we, of course, as the business, will pay for them to ship it back to us and we will exchange it for no cost. But for our customers, it is very clear on our page that if they get something and they don't like the size and they want to swap, they are responsible for paying the freight back. Because again, as a business of our scale, we cannot absorb another $10 hit to then ship another one back out. So, there's things you have to think about when it comes to freight. It's not just the outbound. It's what about when it comes back to you? And then when you have to ship something back out on your own behalf. So when you think about for every one error you could be paying 3 times the freight.
Which actually makes sense when you think about the fact that sometimes, and this happened to me just last week, I ordered a replacement globe, a glass globe for one of my bathroom light fixtures that had broken, and it didn't fit. And it was the right model number and everything. It just, for whatever reason, like didn't fit. So I asked for the return and they were just like, just keep it.
Yep.
Here's your money back, but do not send this back to us. And I was like, of course, it was going to cost them as much as, the product's probably worth.
Totally. And sometimes I'll do the same thing. I'll say, just keep it, depending on what it is, what the issue is, it might not be worth it. So
Amazon does that often too.
Often, very often. So there's a lot of complexity. And the other thing I would say, if you are in your very beginning phases, you could literally go on to FedEx.com or go into your UPS store, like run the exercise, like do the exercise. Don't just guess, because I tell you,
not guess.
I have tried to guess on freight before, and it can be wildly off depending on when size kicks in versus weight kicks in versus dimensions. Like it is not something you want to guess on. So, sign up for a stamps.com account, go into your local post office if you want to ship USPS, or get on FedEx and, call them and say, hey, I'm interested in opening up a business, account. Can you give me some rates and ideas? Like do your homework, vet it out. And then also, if you are looking to use an e-commerce platform, I highly suggest you also run the numbers, running it through your actual e-commerce site, because there is a very good probability that is going to be your best rate of all.
Yeah. Very high probability. I just want to reiterate, don't guess.
Yes.
That's what, like, I talk about my furniture business, my home decor business. Yeah. I remember looking at this wooden stool and thinking, I bet this is going to cost $30 to ship. And I just put that on my website, $30 to ship. And then I think it was like $45. Oh. Which for like a $78 stool, that's a big margin of error.
Yeah.
I think I ended up increasing the cost. But.
Yeah. And I think if you are someone that's like, no, my customer, I really believe in free ship. And if your product cost can handle it, right? Like there's other triggers you can pull within this. But again, we want to debunk the fact that free shipping is expected. I do not believe it is. I think it is a trigger to be pulled from a marketing standpoint if you're trying to get customers to convert. And again, find your threshold, find where the margin can afford you to do it, if at all. And you might be a business that can never afford free ship, and that's okay too.
That's okay. We gave you guys so many options. So to summarize, you can either pass on the shipping to your customer, you can use a flat rate, and you can price for part and then pass on part. You can price your product to absorb the shipping. You can have a threshold so that once your customer reaches $75, $100, $150, whatever it may be, that margin makes sense for you to absorb the shipping. Like there are options, there are levers to pull. It just depends on how big your product is, what that cost actually is, and how much you think you can devote to it from your margin.
That's great. So lots of things to think about, lots of levers to pull. There's no one right answer for any of this, but I think it's worth looking into all the options and see what makes the most sense for your business and most importantly, for your margin.
Yes. Well, it was fast and furious. And I feel like we say that a lot, but it's timely with the holidays coming up. And we've been asked this question a few times and we both have had our own experiences with it. Hope that helps you with your decision-making surrounding shipping.
Great. And if you love this episode, be sure to like, share, comment. We're here asking for your feedback. Send us your questions.
Yes, you can send us your questions. We are going to start doing some Ask Us Anything episodes. That's going to be a lot of fun. Like Jackie said, if you are on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe so you're notified every time we drop a new video. And if you're on Spotify or Apple, go ahead and just subscribe there as well. And last thing on that note, if you loved our podcast, you should go and rate us.
Yes.
5 stars.
Yes. Well, whatever stars they want, Erin, technically.
Well, they can do whatever they want, but like 5 really would be appreciated.
Really helps.
No,
us.
Just go ahead and leave a review in all seriousness. We're just thankful that you're here and you're listening. We're happy to get your questions. We'll be answering them in an upcoming episode. And we want to make sure you get every little morsel that is destined to come to you.
I love it. Okay. Well, we look forward to seeing you next week on another episode of
The Sourcing Gals.